Bloody Hell is a semi-autobiographical emotional horror story based on my life, but it centers around Lindy, played by Maddie Ziegler, and what happens when she gets diagnosed with a reproductive disorder, and it sort of implodes her sense of identity and womanhood and her relationship with her mother, and she goes on a exciting quest to accept who she is. I was diagnosed with MRKH when I was 16. I made my first feature film called Mary Goes Round in 2016, but I always knew I had to tell this story, but I needed to do another feature first. I didn't think I was emotionally or creatively prepared to tackle this because there's a lot of nuance and difficult thematic territory and a little bit of a mastery of tone between comedy and drama. So I got the first feature under my belt, and I wrote this in 2019, and I wrote it like no one would ever watch it because it is my greatest fear to share this with audiences, but at the same time, as a storyteller, what you're most afraid of is what you are most compelled to share with the world. So I'm being radically vulnerable in hopes that other people see themselves in my story.
Well, Janelle's just come out of Dirty Computer, going into a new album cycle now. So I think for her and for all of us that were producers and songwriters during that time, it just spoke to us. And I mean, she used radical vulnerability. It was radical, and it was so vulnerable and so real and so authentic in every way. You know, I don't think any of us really knew at the time that it was semi-autobiographical, but we felt that from it. It felt like someone was whispering something very, very vulnerable and very emotive right to you, and it felt true. And whenever that happens, you laugh, you cry, you listen, you lean in, and we're always listening in and leaning in toward those radical, rebellious artists, so we couldn't help but fall in love with the story, the characters, the world, and what we're learning. We learned so much.
Yeah. Well, just to put out that I was just honored to be a part of the project, just knowing how close it related to her and how this is her story, you know. So it was an honor just to be really a part of it, you know. And yeah, I was never familiar. I was never familiar before, so you know, I've been learning a lot throughout this whole process, you know. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, I think that the beauty of the story is everyone can take something from it, and there's so much self-discovery and so much self-identity that, especially, it's just in the through line from beginning to end, and to see the arc of Lindy specifically, but everyone has their moment, I feel like, to overcome what they're going through, and I think everyone will be able to take a piece from this, like, in every way possible. So it's really special that it can connect not just, like, friendships, relationships, but mother-daughter relationships so much, so, yeah.
I think there's something about it being a true story that I always find when something is very specific, it becomes universal in a way where people feel it, and that's what I felt when I read the script, that I responded to the humor in it, and I think somebody was calling it a traumedy the other day, and I think that's such a...
It was me.
It was you, okay. I just remember reading the script, and there was this part where Lindy's character finds out that the only other person who has this condition is Eva Braun, Hitler's wife. And it's just that kind of gallows humor when you're in the hardest moments of your life. You find that funny in it, and I think that's what I responded to.
And I just want to say that, like, this condition affects the reproductive organs, and I find bodies really absurd, and so some of the humor is absurd as well, too. And the film also challenges binary identities across the board with sexuality, gender, identity. I think especially in the digital age, everyone is absolutely obsessed with identifying themselves. We cling so tightly to these labels, but it is so much more complicated and nuanced than that. And every person is on a spectrum of identity. And I think when people watch the film, they'll see that I'm trying to ask questions, but I'm not trying to provide answers because I don't know them. And the takeaway I want people to have is the only person who gets to define who you are in the world is yourself. That's it.